What if the most powerful response to betrayal is no response at all? What if real strength isn't about fighting back, but rising so high that the one who tried to break you can no longer even reach you? Stay with me, because the truth I'm about to share might just free you from every person who's ever tried to hurt you. Pain is real. It cuts deep. And when someone wounds you, whether through words, betrayal, or silence, they often expect a specific reaction. They're waiting for the collapse. They're watching for the tears, the outbursts, the rage. They want to see you lose your balance, because it makes them feel powerful. But what if you didn't fall apart? What if you rose above in a way that left them stunned, questioning their own actions, confused by your peace? That's not weakness. That's power. True power. There's a hidden strength in silence, in grace, in restraint. And once you understand it, once you stop reacting the way they expect, you become something they can no longer control. You become unpredictable. And that unsettles people, especially those who thrive on chaos. So listen closely. Pain is not just something to survive. It's something to use. When a man, or anyone, expects you to fall, stand taller. When they assume you'll spiral, center yourself instead. It confuses them. It strips them of the satisfaction they were hoping for, and it returns the power back to where it always belonged, with you. See, the moment you stop chasing answers, the moment you stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" or "Don't they see how much they hurt me?" you start to reclaim your narrative. Closure is a myth. It's something we long for because we think it'll give us peace. But peace doesn't come from understanding their actions. It comes from choosing not to be defined by them. Your silence, it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. It echoes in their mind longer than any argument. Because when someone expects a storm and gets stillness instead, they're forced to confront themselves. Don't let someone else's chaos disturb your clarity. Never let the behavior of another person rewrite your identity. You see, some people, they don't just want to hurt you. They want to label you based on how you react to that hurt. If you cry, they'll call you weak. If you raise your voice, you're too emotional. If you distance yourself, you're cold. But if you smile, keep walking, and elevate your life, they'll have no words left. Just silence. And sometimes, silence is justice. Now hear this. Detachment is not apathy. It doesn't mean you're heartless. It doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you love yourself enough not to drown in someone else's storm. It means you've decided not to bleed for someone who never acknowledged your wounds. It's not about not feeling. It's about refusing to let their brokenness shape your identity. There's a wisdom in this that many never learn. Yes, emotions are powerful. But uncontrolled emotions, they are weapons against you. Every time you let someone dictate how you feel, you hand them a key to your peace. You give them influence they don't deserve. But when you master your emotional response, you become untouchable. You're no longer at the mercy of their moods, their games, or their manipulation. Let your strength be quiet, steady, and unshakable. Let it be something they can sense, but never fully understand, because mystery disarms the manipulator. When you refuse to play the game, you flip the board entirely. Let your peace be your protest. Let your growth be your revenge. The person who hurt you, they want a fight. They want a reaction. They want you to come down to their level, to argue, to justify, to plead. Don't. You were never meant to live in that low place. You were meant to rise higher. So rise. Elevate so far above the pain that they can't even recognize you anymore. The greatest transformation doesn't happen in the loud moments. It happens quietly, in how you carry yourself, in the energy you protect, in the boundaries you enforce. Choose growth over reaction. Choose purpose over pain. And when you do, You step into a version of yourself that they can't touch, they can't reach, they can't manipulate, because you've finally realized the greatest revenge is not revenge at all. It's becoming someone they can no longer affect. So how do you reclaim your power? Simple. You stop feeding the fire. You starve it with silence. One of the most powerful disarming things you can do to someone who hurts you is to give them nothing. No anger, no tears, no explanation, no reaction at all. Just stillness, just silence. And here's the truth. Silence is not emptiness. It's strategy. It's strength. When someone expects you to explode and you remain calm, they're forced to sit with the echo of their own actions. They start to wonder, why isn't she reacting? Did I lose her grip? Did I miscalculate? That questioning, that inner doubt, it unsettles them more than any words ever could, because in that quiet space where your voice used to be, now there's only one thing left for them to hear: their own conscience. The most effective way to overcome pain is not to dwell in it, it's to outgrow it. Don't live in the ruins they tried to leave you in. Rebuild, reframe, reroute. Shift your energy. Focus not on what they did to you, but on what you're becoming because of it. Let them see you thrive, glow, evolve. Let them witness the beautiful irony that their actions didn't break you. They built you. That your healing didn't come from their apology. It came from your decision to rise. When they see you smiling without them, glowing in spite of them, walking confidently toward your purpose, they'll realize they lost. They didn't just lose a person. They lost access to someone they thought they could control, and once that door is closed, it should never be reopened, because what you allow is what will continue. If you let someone play with your value, they'll keep playing. But the moment you draw a boundary and stand firm, you send a clear message. You no longer have the privilege of me. To the one who thought they had control, your silence becomes a loud revelation. You're not angry. You're unavailable. You're not emotional. You're elevated, and that confuses them more than confrontation ever could. Because nothing throws a person off balance like watching you recover from what was meant to destroy you. You healing? That's not just personal growth. It's proof that they didn't win. Your peace, your joy, your wholeness. That is the most powerful shock to anyone who once believed they had the power to break you. They expected you to stay shattered, but instead you became something unshakable. And now, the final move, the ultimate strategy, is this: become unreachable. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Rise to a place where their words, their behavior, their manipulation can no longer find you. Let your peace exist at an altitude their toxicity cannot breathe in. Because when the one who hurt you looks up and realizes you're no longer within their grasp, when they can no longer touch your emotions or tug at your heart, they'll be left feeling powerless, confused, and completely exposed. Let that be the victory. Yes, pain will come. Hurt is part of life. But your response? That's your legacy. Don't let a passing storm leave a permanent stain. Don't let a moment of heartbreak turn into a lifetime of bitterness. Use the pain. Climb with it. Let it strengthen your character, deepen your purpose, sharpen your vision. The strongest people are not the ones who scream the loudest, but the ones who rise quietly, steadily, and with unwavering grace. Confuse them with your peace, shock them with your healing, and don't look back. Leave them behind as you walk forward, bold and unbothered, into your purpose. Because now, the choice is yours. Will you remain in the pain they created for you, or will you rise so far beyond it that they'll need binoculars just to see who you've become? When someone expects you to break, surprise them with your strength. When they expect tears, show them silence. When they want control, deny them access. And in that space where they once held power, you'll be the one holding peace. Understand this deeply. People are trained to expect emotion when they deliver pain. They anticipate your anger. They predict your tears. They prepare for the drama. But when none of that comes, when you walk away instead of engage, you disrupt their entire game. You break their pattern. And without your reaction, their power begins to unravel. Because pain, my friend, is a tool. And in your hands, it becomes a chisel. Not for revenge, but for refinement. Many think that emotion equals power, but unchecked emotion only gives the other person the remote control to your soul, the one who stays calm while everything else burns. That's the person in charge. So when betrayal knocks at your door, greet it with grace. And when someone tries to pull you down, rise silently. Let your peace confront them. Let your wholeness confuse them. Let your growth speak what words never could. When you stop reacting, you take back control. And that silence, it speaks louder than any response ever could. Because now, they no longer have your reaction to focus on. No more fuel, no more emotional fireworks. Nothing to grab onto, nothing to push against. All that remains is their own action. Raw, exposed, and echoing in the quiet. And that, right there, is the twist they never saw coming. Think about it for a moment. What throws a person off more than the unexpected? If someone betrays your trust and expects rage, but instead sees you walking in grace, if they expect breakdown, but see you moving in peace, if they're waiting for drama, but you show up with joy and purpose, that disarms them. That unsettles them. They begin to question their own influence over you. They whisper to themselves, "Why isn't she broken? Why isn't she demanding answers? Why isn't she lashing out like I thought she would?" That confusion? That's your power. It is a silent yet undeniable force that flips the script. Because true strength isn't found in loud speeches or emotional outbursts. It's found in restraint, in the pause, in the poise. The most powerful response is often no response at all. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding their expectations. And when you stop feeding their expectations, you starve their control. They lose their grip because they were never holding you. They were holding your reaction. True strength is carrying yourself with dignity, even when someone tries to strip it away. It's standing tall when they expected you to fall. It's walking in peace while they hoped for chaos. Never let someone else's action dictate your inner calm. Your calmness is your weapon. Your ability to remain composed in the face of emotional attack, that's the loudest statement you'll ever make. Let them wonder. Let them question. Let them sit in the confusion they created while you quietly rise above it all. And here's something critical to remember. Never let the actions of someone else rewrite your identity. Because when a person hurts you, intentionally or not, the hidden goal is often the same. To make you question yourself, to shake your confidence, to bend your self-worth into something smaller. But hear this, you are not what they did to you. Their lies? A reflection of their dishonesty, not your value. Their manipulation? It shows their brokenness, not your weakness. Their abandonment? It proves nothing about your lovability, only their inability to love well. It's easy to internalize these things, to think, maybe I wasn't enough, to wonder, what did I do wrong? But that's the real damage, not the betrayal itself, but the identity crisis it creates. When you begin to define yourself by their actions, you hand over the pen. You let them write your story. You let them decide your worth. And that must stop. So how do you confuse the one who tried to break you? You refuse to become who they hoped you'd turn into. You don't get bitter. You get better. You don't spiral into insecurity. You grow even more rooted in your worth. You don't fall apart. You build something stronger. You become unshakable. Because when they see that their cruelty did not distort your identity, they're left with only one thing to question. their own power. Remember this truth: your worth is not determined by how someone treats you. It is defined by who created you and who you were born to be. And no mistreatment, no lie, no abandonment, no manipulation can undo that. So walk in your worth. Stand firm in your truth. Let your identity remain rooted, even when the winds of betrayal try to shake it, because the greatest victory is not changing to match your pain. It's rising above it, unchanged. When you rise above someone's attempt to shake your identity, the next battle is not with them, but within yourself. And that's where the real power lies. Emotions are powerful. They can drive change, inspire action, and express love. But unchecked emotions, they can be dangerous. They can cloud judgment, lead to impulsive decisions, and hand your power to the very person who tried to break you. The moment you allow someone to dictate how you feel, you give them the reins. You hand them influence, not just over your emotions, but over your choices, your peace, your future. Especially when a man hurts you, he often expects a certain reaction: anger, desperation, confusion. He anticipates seeing you spiral, searching for answers, begging for closure, or drowning in sadness. But the moment you master your emotions, you dismantle that entire plan. You take away the reaction he thought he could provoke, and just like that, he loses power. Emotional intelligence is not about pretending you're fine. It's not about burying your feelings or faking a smile. It's about knowing how to feel without letting those feelings control your direction. It's about acknowledging the storm inside you and choosing to steer the ship anyway. Because when you're hurt, you always have two paths: react impulsively or respond intentionally. One path leads to chaos. It makes you predictable, easy to manipulate, emotionally exhausted. The other path? It leads to clarity. It gives you strength, presence, and peace. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you and you simply don't react, what happens? They become unsettled. They lose their script. They start questioning whether they ever had power in the first place. Because people feed off reactions. It's how they maintain control. But when a man who believes he can shatter you instead sees you grounded, glowing, and moving forward, he's the one left broken. That confusion he feels, that moment of doubt in his own influence, that is his greatest defeat. Never let a moment of pain drive you into a lifetime of regret. Many people, overwhelmed by emotion, speak words they wish they could erase. They make decisions that wound their future. They let bitterness shape their destiny. But the person who governs their emotions with wisdom, she moves with intention. She doesn't play checkers. She plays chess. She understands that the best way to win is not to react on impulse, but to elevate with purpose. Your emotions belong to you. Guard them. Don't place them in the hands of someone who's already shown they don't value them. Because the moment you master your emotions, you master your influence. And once you've mastered your influence, no one, not even the one who hurt you, can break what's within. Silence in this journey is not weakness. It is a shield, a statement, a weapon far sharper than any argument. When a man wounds you, he expects words. He expects noise, confrontation. He anticipates yelling, accusations, or endless questions. He's ready for a storm. But when you give him silence instead, everything he expects begins to unravel. Silence forces reflection. It creates space he can't fill with excuses or distractions. When you don't argue, you don't give him a target. When you don't question, you don't offer him a way to deflect. When you don't plead, you deny him the satisfaction of power. And that silence, it echoes, because in the absence of your voice, the only thing left for him to hear is his own conscience. And that voice, that guilt, it grows louder in the quiet. It haunts in the stillness. It forces him to face what he's done without the distraction of your pain to justify it. People often defend their actions not because they believe they were right, but because they don't want to face the weight of what they've done. So give them that space. Let them sit in it. Let your silence be the mirror they didn't ask for, but the one they now can't escape. And once guilt begins to grow in silence, the next blow comes not from your voice, but from your absence. Because when you remove yourself from the equation, when you exit the drama and no longer play your part in the cycle, they're left to battle themselves. They no longer have your reaction to fight, your voice to argue with, or your presence to manipulate. And here's the truth. Your silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's the conscious decision to choose peace over pettiness, clarity over chaos, and dignity over destruction. Not every fight deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a reply. Some battles are best won by simply walking away, head held high, peace intact. There is no greater confusion than expecting a storm and receiving stillness. When someone braces for conflict but is met with composure, they are left off balance. Think about it. When someone mistreats you, disrespects you, or even tries to tear you down, and yet you continue to carry yourself with grace, confidence, and unshaken purpose, what does that say? It says their actions didn't reach the core of who you are. It says their power over you has been broken. It says your peace is too sacred to be shaken by momentary pain. Silence is not the absence of response. It is the response. It's a statement, a boundary, a declaration that you will not spend another ounce of emotional energy on someone who has already shown you their character. And when you choose silence with intention, not out of fear or suppression, but out of strength and wisdom, the power shifts. Suddenly, you're not the one left in confusion. They are. Your greatest revenge? It's not retaliation. It's not begging. It's not proving anything. Your greatest revenge is success. Because when a man hurts you, what he expects is collapse. He expects you to spiral, to lose direction, to question your worth. He expects to see you broken, bitter, and buried under the weight of what he's done. But when you rise, when you keep building, keep growing, and keep moving forward with joy and confidence, that is what truly confuses him. That is what truly silences him. Pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your next chapter, a powerful one, written in strength, resilience, and rebirth. Yes, many people let pain paralyze them. They get stuck. They isolate. They let the hurt bury their confidence and steal their identity. But the wise? They learn. They build. They become stronger because of the wound, not in spite of it. Instead of crying over what was taken, they create something greater. Instead of seeking revenge through words, they let their life speak. And ask yourself, what creates more regret in someone who hurt you? Watching you sink into sadness, or watching you rise so far that you are completely out of their reach? The most undeniable way to prove someone wrong is not through arguments, but through undeniable transformation. Because when they see that their betrayal didn't define you, when they witness that their abandonment didn't diminish your worth, and when it becomes clear that their actions couldn't touch your destiny, that is when they are left in disbelief. Success speaks louder than pain ever could. It tells the world you refuse to break. It tells the one who hurt you that their power is gone. And most importantly, it tells you that your worth was never dependent on their love, their validation, or their apology. Stop trying to prove your pain. Start proving your power. Let your life be the evidence that you are never defeated. You are simply being prepared for purpose, for greatness, for joy that no man could take from you. And here's one final truth. Forgiveness is not about them. It never was. It's about you. Because when a man hurts you, he expects his shadow to linger in your mind. He expects you to carry the weight of resentment. He expects to live rent-free in your thoughts. But what happens when you forgive? Not to excuse him, but to free yourself? They thought they could leave you bitter, angry, distracted. They expected their betrayal to echo in your thoughts for years. But the moment you choose to release the offense, everything changes. That moment, You. Reclaim your peace. Let's be clear. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's not pretending the pain didn't happen. It's not excusing disrespect or brushing betrayal under the rug. No. Forgiveness is power. It is a deliberate, strategic act. You're not letting them off the hook. You're removing yourself from the hook they tried to hang you on. Why keep someone emotionally tethered to you who has already proven they don't value you? Why let them keep robbing your joy long after they're gone? Holding on to resentment doesn't punish them. It punishes you. It locks you in a moment that no longer serves your destiny. But when you forgive, you break that tie. You take back your energy. You take back your focus. You rise, lighter, freer, unburdened. And here's what will truly shake them. You're not supposed to be okay. You're supposed to be broken, angry, distracted, consumed with thoughts of revenge. But instead, they see you walking in peace, moving forward, unshaken, still joyful, still thriving. That's the power of forgiveness. It removes their control over your emotions and places the power back where it belongs, in your hands. Don't let their actions write the story of your future. Release the offense, not because they deserve mercy, but because you deserve peace. Let your heart breathe again. Let your mind be clear again. Watch how your life begins to bloom when you're no longer tied to what hurt you. Here's a truth many overlook. Indifference is the most powerful response to disrespect. When a man hurts you, what he secretly hopes for is that he still matters, that somewhere inside you there's still pain, still anger, still hope, still confusion. He wants to know that you still care. But the moment you become indifferent, the game changes completely, because indifference is not hatred. Hatred still requires emotional investment. Anger still shows they have access to your heart. But when their name no longer stirs a single reaction, when their presence or absence means nothing, when your peace remains intact whether they rise or fall, that's when you've taken back every ounce of power they once had. That's when the confusion hits. You were supposed to be devastated, still waiting, still wondering, still desperate for closure. But instead, you're thriving, peaceful, purpose-driven, and emotionally unavailable to the chaos they once brought into your life. They expected to be chased, but you walked away without ever looking back. And when that happens, they panic. Suddenly, they begin to second-guess everything, their choices, their assumptions, their ego. They realize the hardest truth of all. They were never as important to you as they believed, and that's the kind of shock no apology can undo. They thought they had power over you, that your world would orbit their approval. But the moment you decide to stop explaining, stop arguing, stop seeking validation, you take your power back. You stop pouring energy into spaces where your worth was never recognized. You stop fighting for a seat at tables where love was never served. You don't have to speak. You just have to evolve. Live like his existence has no weight in your world. Because once you master the art of indifference, truly master it, no one can ever hold your emotions hostage again. Your glow-up must start from within. When a man hurts you, he expects to see you unravel. He imagines your self-worth cracking beneath his absence. He expects to see your light dim, your confidence shrink, your joy wither. But the most powerful way to confuse him is to rise. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even physically, until you are no longer just out of reach. You're beyond recognition, because true transformation is not in the mirror, it's in the mind. A changed mindset is far more unstoppable than a changed outfit. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to shout it, she radiates it. When you commit to growth, when you feed your soul wisdom, when you move with purpose, you become untouchable. Suddenly, no insult can shake you. No ghost from your past can haunt you. No rejection can define you. And this is what will haunt him. How is she stronger? How is she glowing? How did she become more after what I did? He thought he'd break you. Instead, he built a stronger version of you. Ironically, the pain he caused became your platform. The rejection became your redirection. The betrayal became your rebirth. So think about it. When people expect you to be bitter but watch you blossom instead, they're left stunned. They begin to question if they ever really knew you at all. Because the woman they see now is not the one they left wounded. She's no longer bleeding. She's blooming. You've outgrown the pain. You've outgrown the insecurity. You've outgrown the version of you that tolerated what never honored your worth. So focus on your elevation. Renew your mind. Heal your heart. Strengthen your spirit. Because the best way to confuse someone who tried to break you is to show them they were never the storm. They were just a gust of wind that pushed you higher. Peace is the final victory. When a man hurts you, he expects chaos. He expects your soul to be restless, your nights to be sleepless, your mind tormented with questions. He expects you to chase closure like it's the missing piece to your sanity. But when you choose peace, the kind that doesn't need revenge, doesn't need explanations, doesn't need their understanding, you win. Completely. Real peace doesn't beg for clarity. It doesn't need to revisit old wounds. It looks forward. It walks forward. It rises above everything that was meant to destroy it. And that's what will leave them speechless. They hurt you, yet you're smiling. They expected you to fall apart, yet you're rising. They thought you'd need them, but your life is fuller than it's ever been. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. And that's when the regret begins. That's when the questions surface. That's when they realize they never had control. They never broke you. They only awakened the warrior in you. And that is the moment everything shifts. When they realize the very thing they sought to destroy has become your greatest triumph. This is when they begin to regret. When they start to question every choice they made. When they wonder in stunned silence, how did she heal so beautifully without me? Understand this truth. Peace is your most potent weapon. When you refuse to let pain define your story. When you stop reacting to what was meant to break you, you declare to the world and to yourself that your spirit is unshakable. Imagine their disbelief. They firmly believed their absence would leave a void in your life. Yet that absence became the canvas for your brightest colors. What they thought would cripple you, instead created space for your greatest self to emerge. So protect your peace at all costs. Treat it like the rare treasure it is. Guard it fiercely, because every layer of resentment you shed is another piece of armor against future pain. Let your silence speak volumes. A calm so deep that it echoes louder than any argument. A stillness so profound that it unsettles anyone who expects drama. Let your joy blind them, shining brighter than their darkest intentions. A radiance they never saw coming, because they assumed you'd be broken. And let your growth be the living answer to every unspoken question. Who is she now? How did she become so whole? They said she'd never recover, so how is she thriving? Because when you cultivate inner peace, you've already won. You've transcended the cycle of hurt and reaction. You've mastered the art of rising above. Your life becomes the testimony. Your healed heart becomes the declaration. Your unstoppable joy becomes the final victory. So as you step into your next chapter, carry this with you. Peace is not passive. It is not a sign of surrender. It is an act of courage, a deliberate choice to focus on your own light rather than their shadows. And that choice, it changes everything.